If you're like me, then making money is your desire. But have you ever thought about not making more money by increasing your income, but by saving more money by decreasing your spendings? So I tried to cut all of the unnecessary expenses in order to save up more money to achieve my goal of financial freedom. So in this video I want to share with you the top 7 things, that are 8, 7 things that actually made the greatest difference on my journey to building wealth. My ultimate goal in life is to achieve financial freedom. But what does that actually mean? Well, there is not a universal definition, but for me it is the luxury not having to work. Or better said, you have the luxury to decide if you want to work and on what you want to work. So you are not forced to do anything you don't want to. Additionally, the freedom to work whenever I want from wherever I want, combined with the freedom of doing whatever I want and as long as I want. That for me is the definition of financial freedom, and that's my highest priority right now. So under my current circumstances, having a capped income, I have to save in order to achieve my goal of financial freedom. I started experimenting a lot with saving on lots of different things, but nothing quite worked out as I wished it would. I started out creating time blocks, and in different time blocks I was allowed to spend money, but this concept did not work out. I tried lots of other different things that all failed in the end, because everything I tried in the end was costing me similar amounts of money as if I just would have stick to my normal spending habits. But I didn't stop experimenting with all the different things I could but shouldn't consume. I discovered my 7 things that will make me financially free if I stop purchasing them for a long amount of time. A common mindset that our society has, or that brands put these images into our brain, is that trends are something we have to keep up with. Just think about it. Fashion. Brands like Zara release multiple collections each year, and each collection is always trendy and the hottest things, and you have to have them. But trends iterate so quickly that it's almost impossible to always keep up on them. You can keep up on them if you spend a lot of money, always have the new clothes, always have the newest smartphone, or always have the best hardware or the newest tech that's just released. That will make you poor long term. Because think about it, the stuff you own probably is still working. I just switched my spending habits from, first of all, a complete full stop to purchasing anything, and then I really thought about the whole process and everything I would spend on things that are pretty much trendy or you don't actually need to, because the older stuff is still working. So I wrote on a list of everything that is trendy, and everything I came up with in the end, I tried to replace these purchasing decisions with something timeless. For example, if you get that really nice, spring color shirt, probably it won't be that trendy in a year or a few months or at the end of the summer even. So why not think about buying a timeless shirt that you can wear for years to come? You buy it one time but wear it for multiple years. That is a much higher return on your investment, your initial spending, than if you just buy it and wear it sometime, or even worse, throw it away because you don't like it anymore. Now I've got a question for you. Would you want to avoid something unhealthy for your body and your mind that would also save you money at the same time? So basically, would you like to receive more health for free instead of spending money to be in a worse condition? Then I advise you to avoid purchasing any kind of beverage, alcohol, soft drinks, and huge amounts of sweets are damaging your health and also your money. That's why I decided for myself that I switched my spending habits on these excessive things to just drinking tap water. And you can do it as well. You just have to check if you're able to actually drink your tap water or if the quality is really that bad. But mine is quite okay, and that's why I only drink tap water. For example, you will always see me with my water bottle. It's always filled with tap water. And it's pretty much for free. So I don't have to spend any money on fluid side of spendings from my grocery shoppings. I don't have to carry all of the water bottles or beverages or something like that, and I save a lot of money along the side. So if you're into books, then the biggest mindset shift for me was to purchase a Kindle. I know a Kindle costs quite a lot of money in the first time, and that is why I prepared a simple calculation for you, so I can prove my point that buying a Kindle is actually better than just reading physical books all the time. So the average Kindle price is $150. The average paperback on Amazon costs $17.5. And the average ebook for a Kindle is $9.50. So I made this real nice graph where you can see the break-even point when buying ebooks for a Kindle is better for your money than purchasing physical paperback books. And as you can see, the magical break-even amount is like 17 or 18 books you have to purchase on a Kindle to break even, and basically got the Kindle for free. And that is the point you have to pay attention to. The 19th book going forward is always cheaper than if you would have bought the paperback variant. And even better than that, I assumed the average price of a Kindle for $7 and something like that. But Kindle has special offers in which you can get really high value and best-selling books for free sometimes. I've got 3 really nice books for free that way. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, as well as How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. All of these books are costing around $15 to $20 if you would have bought them physical, but I've got 3 books for $0. Now think about it. If you're really into reading, then deciding to get a Kindle could actually be a huge money saver for you. Another common misconception in society is if you buy a brand, then it is ensured you get a higher quality if you would have bought a no-brand version of that same product. But in my experience, that is not always the case. You can save big time when purchasing a no-brand and receive similar or even better quality than if you would have bought a brand name. It takes a little bit more time to compare prices, warranty and the specs of the product, but if you do that on a consistent basis for the huge purchases that set you back a couple of $100s every time, like tech for example, that can get really expensive really quickly, then in my opinion it's the best way to save up a lot of money. And I can give you a quite nice example for my thing, from my perspective. So I recently purchased a wireless keyboard from a company that I never heard of before, and it only cost around $50. And the same keyboard from the big names in the industry would have cost me around $200. So you probably own at least one subscription. If it is Netflix as a streaming service, or Spotify a streaming service for music, or you just have something like Amazon Prime. Subscriptions cost you money on a retainer basis. So I decided to set up a principle for myself. And the principle is own, don't rent. If it is possible, I want to avoid to rent out things. I prefer to own things for myself. And I can give you a really nice example for that case. When I edit my videos, there are many different options for video editing softwares. You have got the Adobe Suite, you have Premiere Pro or Final Cut. Or you have the free alternative DaVinci Resolve, which is free of cost and anyone can use it. So what did I do? I compared, as in a step before, all of the specs the software brings with, and then found out that I actually do not need all of the paid bonuses and features the other softwares provide. So I decided to go with the free software alternative DaVinci Resolve. I'm now using it for my whole editing journey, around 2 years, and I've never had a single problem with it. And other than the Adobe Suite, for example, you don't have to pay over and over and over again, for example on a monthly or yearly subscription, to keep using the product. Because once you are familiar with and build habits in your workflows, you don't want to switch the software, for example, you're using, or the subscription services you're using. So before you do that, try to look for free alternatives, or at least buy it for a one-time fee and then own it forever. Another learning for me was that delaying gratification makes a huge difference in mind and also on the money side. So what does delaying gratification actually mean? So picture this. Every time you open your phone to scroll on a social media app and watch some short form videos, you get a dopamine hit. Your brain tells you that it's really nice what you're doing, so keep doing it over and over again and as long as possible. But the bad side on this is that your brain doesn't actually know what is right for you. So it tells you to do more of what it likes, but it doesn't know if what it likes is actually a healthy thing. And that is exactly where delaying gratification comes in. If you delay gratification, so basically you delay the dopamine hit and the reward of your brain and do the right things beforehand, you've got a huge boost and are up front of many other people who do not do that. But what has that to do with personal finance? Well, have you ever wanted to see a new really nice movie that has just been released in the cinema and you can't wait to do so? Why not wait until you can watch it for free sometime? I know it may take up to 1 or 2 years and you will not be able to participate in all of these nice conversations on and offline of all the people who have already seen it on release day. But you have saved money and you've delayed your gratification. You will watch this movie eventually, or you will go to theater eventually, but you have to delay gratification for the moment. Save now, enjoy later. Did you know you can actually eat healthy for cheap? Well, I didn't. My last point I've not quite implemented yet is to stop purchasing processed and all up finished food or ordering takeaway food on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whenever. So I want to avoid eating unhealthy stuff. Easier said than done, I promise you. So right now I'm in the process of looking which foods I can easily prepare and meal prep and that are not that expensive to purchase, and I'm still feeling really good when eating them, and I save money in the process. Because have you ever thought about how expensive it is if you order takeaway food on a bi-weekly basis or even on a weekly basis? It really adds up at the end of each month. So I would rather spend this money on eating better food that is actually healthier for yourself and avoiding all of the processed food along the way. Okay, so here are my results. Instead of purchasing soft drinks, beverages and sweets, I've cut all of that and only drink tap water. So my spendings in this area are now 0. Then I switched from purchasing physical books to only purchasing ebooks for my Kindle. If an average physical book is at $17.5 and the average Kindle book at 9.5, then I save $8 on every book I purchase on average. Then we have all of the other things I just mentioned, like avoiding to purchase trends, cutting back all of your subscriptions, not buying brands only for their brand's sake anymore, delaying gratification, like going to a cinema always when the new movie is just released, and stop to purchasing so much prepackaged or takeaway food. I've cut all of these to 0. So I'm spending 0 on all of the things I just listed. And after cutting back all of these expenses, I have more money left than ever before. And with this money, I can invest in myself or this YouTube channel to provide you a better viewing experience, or just overall skills and knowledge that come in pretty handy in the later time of my life. Because investments like these will always provide much higher returns than any chocolate bar ever could. But saving money is only one side of the coin. Making money is the other one. So you might ask how you can step up your monthly income. It's pretty simple. By starting a side hustle to earn some money on the side. A side hustle basically describes that you want to learn a high income skill that people or businesses want to pay you for, and you can offer them that skill and sell it to them. So in this video right here, I go over 9 side hustles you can start right now to earn $100 extra income, or even more if you're really passionate about it.